All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to get into the work of Dr. Simon Paul Atkinson because it raises a question that's, well, kind of huge for our times. In a world just flooded with information, who do you actually listen to? It turns out the whole idea of an authoritative voice, especially when it comes to learning, is getting a complete makeover.
Seriously, think about it. I bet a lot of you have been there. That whole experience with the one book by the one professor. That's the classic model of education, right? In that world, authority was simple. It was singular. And it was standing right at the front of the room. But as we're about to see, that model is basically becoming a museum piece.
So, to really get where we're going, we first have to understand where we came from. So, let's do a quick look back at that traditional model of academic authority, the good old sage on the stage. In this world, everything was pretty straightforward. The lecturer, well, they lectured. Fun fact, the word itself comes from the act of reading a text out loud. They would profess the truth from the lectern. Their book was the gospel, and the path to learning was paved by one single, unquestioned voice. But then, well, you know what happened. The internet happened. The digital revolution didn't just give us more stuff to read, it completely shattered those old structures of authority, and it created a landscape that's way more complex and, honestly, a lot more interesting. And wow, what a shift this is. I mean, think about it. Authority used to be all about gatekeepers, peer review boards, big publishing houses. But now, as Dr. Atkinson points out, you have world-renowned experts publishing game-changing ideas directly on blogs or Substack. You have feature-length documentaries getting cited in academic papers. The old lines, they're basically disappearing. So here's the real challenge for all of us now. It isn't about finding information anymore. That's the easy part. It's about figuring out who actually knows what they're talking about. How do we spot a genuinely informed, authoritative voice when it could be coming from a journal, a blog post, or even a documentary? And the answer, at least according to this new way of thinking, isn't to just find one new authority to replace the old one. Nope. It's about embracing the power of many different voices, all at the same time. The big idea here has a name: polyvocality. It literally just means many voices. It's this intentional choice to bring a whole range of perspectives, opinions, and different kinds of proof into one single course. It's about shifting from a monologue to a really dynamic, interesting conversation. So why is this so important? Well, for a few reasons. First off, it's actually how knowledge has always been built, through arguments and counter-arguments. It also makes room for the diverse backgrounds that students themselves bring to the classroom. It helps balance that high-level academic theory with what the industry actually needs. And maybe most importantly, it teaches students the super critical skill of how to navigate a world full of conflicting information. Okay, so this brings up a huge question. If a course is now a collection of many voices, what happens to the person who's supposed to be in charge? Well, it means their job has to change, like, a lot.
I love this distinction. The educator is no longer the sage on the stage, the one person who has all the answers. Instead, they become the guide on the side. Their job isn't to just declare what's true anymore. It's to help students navigate all this information, to walk with them through the tricky parts and the contradictions, and to really just facilitate their own journey of discovery.
Dr. Atkinson brings up this great quote from Diana Laurillard that just nails it. The value of a course today isn't just the stuff in it, the readings, the videos. The real value is the quality of the conversation that's built around all that stuff. The back and forth, the guidance, the dialogue, that is the course. And look, this whole transformation isn't just about the teacher. It fundamentally changes what it means to be a student, too. It puts this new focus on designing courses that actually empower the learner to be more autonomous. This is a really subtle but incredibly important point. The goal is to enable engagement, not to force it. It's about creating a rich environment with tons of opportunities to interact, but then trusting the student to engage in the ways that are actually useful and meaningful for them. Just take a second with this quote from Dr. Atkinson. He gives this perfect example of a nursing student. Why would you force that student to participate in some graded online discussion board when they might be going home every night and having deep, real-world conversations about healthcare with their parents at the dinner table? It just doesn't make sense. And that right there is the heart of it. We have to start acknowledging that students aren't blank slates. They bring their own expertise to the table. Their real-world lived experience has its own authority. A modern course shouldn't shut that out. It should invite it in, instead of just making everyone post on a mandatory forum.
So this all leads us to one last really big question. If the old job of a university, giving people access to rare information and singular experts, if that's not its main value anymore, then what is? In a world where you can find knowledge anywhere and authority is spread all over the place, a course becomes less about just delivering facts. It becomes about a guided conversational journey towards genuine understanding. And that's a question we should all probably be thinking about.